Good evening, San Francisco. Welcome. It's great to be back in San Francisco. My name is Steven Zeiler. Today is Tuesday, September 1st, 2015, and I am broadcasting from beautiful Haight-Ashbury, where we're talking about freedom, empathy, and independence for all people in San Francisco. I've recently been on a long journey through Europe, and Germany, Switzerland, Czech Republic, and I had an excellent time. Did a lot of Bitcoin-related adventures there. I wanted to fill you in on. And also, this is an evening broadcast because I know I also went to Texas and I got off schedule with Free Talk SF, but I was walking home today from the train station and I encountered a guy who was trying to gather signatures for a petition. And I like these kind of people. I like people who are out being activists, just any kind of activism, even if it is petitioning the government. At least it seemed like he was trying to get something done. So this guy, he was really old, long hair, long gray hair, super hippie. Had like pink John Lennon glasses. So quintessential like Haight-Ashbury hippie guy. And he was out there with some signature things, trying to collect signatures. And the one thing that he was asking about to get signatures on was to raise the minimum wage in California from $9 to $15. And this is an absurd thing to do. I think this man is very confused because I assume that his goal is to employ more people at a higher rate and have more people who are unskilled to be able to get jobs. And actually, this is what he said. He said, I asked him, why does he want to raise the minimum wage? And at first he wouldn't answer like why he wants to raise the minimum wage. He said things like, well, by the time it actually gets put into the legislation, it will be like 5 years from now, and the prices will have increased by then. And so people will need a $15 that are getting $9 now. And he's absolutely correct about that. If in 5 years the prices haven't increased more than whatever 15 over 9 is, I will be very surprised, given the incredible rate of monetary inflation by the central bank. However, he finally got down to why he wants to raise the minimum wage. And he said it's because people who don't have enough skills and haven't been able to get enough skills to make $15 an hour, which he thinks is the minimum required to live in the city, and that may be true. The people who haven't the opportunity to get those skills won't be able to get a job for $15 an hour. And he is incredibly correct about that. However, the problem is a $15 minimum wage is not a rule that says employers must pay everyone $15 at a minimum. It's a law that says people who are trying to sell their services cannot sell their services for less than $15. So let's see that distinction. If I'm trying to sell my services for $10, this would be illegal given a $15 minimum wage. Now, I'm confident that my services are worth more than $10, unless I was like doing sculpture or something where I'm not very good at it. So maybe my services would not be worth $10, and certainly not $15. But someone who is actually only worth $10 as far as their skill level, like this guy is saying there are people who have skills, but their skills are not worth on the open market $15. They're only worth $3 or $8 or $12. it would be illegal for those people to sell their services on the market. And so what's going to happen, and what I explained to this guy, and I was trying to be nice about it, that it's going to be illegal for these people to offer their services at a wage that employers are willing to pay. So employers are not, if they can't make money. So say an employer who employs, he gets $6 of profit from your contribution, or he gets $6 in revenue from your labor. So that means your labor is worth $6. He's going to lose money if he employs you at $15. You see? So he's not going to hire you, period. It doesn't make sense for his business. So rather than depending on minimum prices for selling wages, people in San Francisco, and especially the officials in San Francisco that enforce labor laws, need to be supremely aware that the minimum wage is preventing people from selling their services at a price that will get them a job. I think the best thing to do in San Francisco, first of all, we need to allow people to, and the best way to get a job that makes you worth $15 is to get a job. The best way to get skills is to get a job. And my roommate is actually paying to take an internship, to have a job, to gain skills. He's paying thousands of dollars to gain skills in a kind of a new age training, educational work environment. And he actually is violating the minimum wage by paying for a job. He's making negative money to do work, but he's developing skills that will make him worth more in the future, more than $15, more than the minimum. And so I love San Francisco. I love that people are active. This guy cares. But he after I said that, he just walked off. I shouted after him, "It's the great unemployer, the minimum wage." And he goes, "Oh yeah, a great unemployer." So good thing he repeated that. That was the last thing he said, the great unemployer. So now, sucker, he has a mental link. There's neurons. Is that right? Neurons, synapses have been created that connect him, minimum wage, great unemployer. So I'm glad that he repeated that particular piece. All right, I might mention also that this broadcast is free for anyone to use, but it is covered by a BIPCOT no-gov license, free for anyone to use except government agents. So if you are a government agent, please turn it off now. Otherwise, feel free to use it and redistribute. And yeah, so this weekend, this past weekend, on Sunday, I wanted to finally go down to the Nakamoto's Bitcoin store at 20 Mission. And 20 Mission is traditionally it was a co-working space the past few years. There were a lot of Bitcoin events and meetups there. People were learning about Bitcoin. It was a great place to learn and build things. And now it is a market where everyone there accepts Bitcoin as payment. And there's a Bitcoin only store called Nakamoto's in that market. And some friends of mine, I guess I met them, they run the store. And so I had to go check it out because they had a new Bitcoin ATM there. And they already had one Lamasu Bitcoin ATM, which is great. You put in dollars and the fiat dollar goes away. You get Bitcoin in your wallet. And with that particular ATM, you don't have to provide any type of identification or anything, no telephone number, no email address. And so I love it. It's great. The new Bitcoin machine that they have, is even cooler and less cool at the same time. So the new Bitcoin ATM allows you to put in dollars for Bitcoin and sell Bitcoin for cash, which is great because we need to be able to still spend cash at certain places, though obviously more Bitcoin places popping up all the time, more products available for Bitcoin. The free market of money is winning and will destroy all fiat. But we need to be able to get cash in the meantime with our Bitcoin so we can keep our money. And this is something that I noticed that was really handy when I was traveling. So when I was traveling in Germany, Prague, and Switzerland, I did not want to do any kind of currency conversion through the banking system or anything like that. Obviously, want to use independent money. And so I was looking for all the Bitcoin vendors, Bitcoin ATMs. Zurich had several Bitcoin ATMs. So though I wasn't able to spend Bitcoin at any places in Zurich that I visited, I was able to purchase Swiss franc in 100 franc denominations from the Bitcoin ATM and then spin that around town. And then when I had at the end, when I was leaving Switzerland, I had a surplus. So I was able to put it back in the Bitcoin ATM and get my Bitcoins back. So that was great. Berlin also there was this one neighborhood in Berlin that had tons of Bitcoin restaurants and cafes with tons, like half a dozen. And it was pretty awesome. I have a lot of photos and videos of me interacting with Bitcoin there that I will post to the site. And actually, one of them was the first ever Bitcoin store in Berlin, maybe even in Europe. And they had the old Android Bitcoin client that they were using to accept payment. Another one simply had a QR code. It was a coffee shop, had a QR code on the side of one of their food cabinets. And when I paid, the girl just went over to her phone and checked blockchain.info, saw that I had paid for the coffees, said, good to go. It was awesome. And then in Prague had the most impressive Bitcoin presence. And that's completely due to one place called Perianopolis. I'm totally butchering that. I apologize, but it was a Bitcoin-only coffee shop in downtown Prague, and they had multiple Bitcoin ATMs, the best Bitcoin ATMs I've seen. You could buy and sell check fiat, and they had only Creative Commons music that was totally unlicensed. They had like 3D printed chess. They had a Bitcoin Piper paper wallet printer. So I printed some Bitcoin paper wallets. And I've actually ordered myself one of those printers. And they had a Bitcoin cash register. So it generated the QR code that had the amount and the name of the place already filled in and everything. It was home to the Crypto Anarchy Institute. So I bring this up in the context of Free Talk SF because I felt extremely independent and free using Bitcoin in these places, and I want that experience to come to San Francisco. I was looking at a retail place down here, Haight-Ashbury. It's just right on, like to make a Bitcoin store, put some Bitcoin ATMs and things there. It's about $9,000 a month for rent for retail space right here on Haight Street, which is a little bit out of my personal budget, but I imagine some people could organize something. Maybe further down the street it's a little cheaper. And if not, maybe a good business could come out of it, Bitcoin business. Would love to see that happen. And another thing that I loved about Germany that was super free that we should definitely institute here is no speed limits. It was awesome. On the German highways, there's a sign with 4 lines through it that means it's like the freedom sign. It's like you're free to go as fast as you want safely. And of course, there were no accidents. it was totally awesome to fly by a police officer at 130 miles per hour, like pushing the limits of the car that I had bought, or I'd rented the Skoda. I was going as fast as I could, and it was awesome. I was like flying by cars they were going 60 miles an hour, but it seemed like they were standing still. Oh, super cool. I really enjoyed Europe. I really enjoyed using Bitcoin there. Now I'm reading a book called Markets Not Capitalism, and it is about socialist anarchists who are, I think, a little bit confused in the word capitalism. But the first tenet of abolishing monopolies is abolishing the monopoly on money. It's incredibly important for people in San Francisco to recognize the illegitimacy of the government-created, government-backed Federal Reserve dollar system and implement and use our own market-based, competition-based currency. I think that's the next wave that we're moving into. We can completely move to competitive free market currency. And then after that, we can abolish things like patents, which are extremely holding back the average person and granting a monopoly to certain people that is really above what they're worth on the market. So I'm really happy to be working on XRP, on Ripple, the free market, open market for money, on Bitcoin, and I have a lot more stuff that I'll cover tomorrow on Free Talk SF, but I wanted to give this update because I saw that guy on the street, and there was, and then for some reason, like 6 months ago or 12 months ago, I saw this billionaire businessman in Seattle. And Seattle is one of these cities where they've raised the minimum wage to something really high, like $15 or $20. And this guy was saying, well, we should raise the minimum wage because the people deserve a higher wage. Like, people need to make more money, and that will make our society better. And I agree that people need to make more money. And the only real way to do that is, well, accumulating capital equipment that actually makes the productivity of their labor worth that much so that businesses can employ them. And so I was siding with this guy. I was like, oh, well, if we can all pay more for labor, then why not have a minimum wage? And I didn't realize at the time that he is just trying to prevent competition from other employers who can afford to hire people at $12 an hour. And so, if the minimum wage was $50 an hour, then he would be able to employ everyone. But no one else would be able to employ them because they wouldn't be able to afford it. So he has a bunch of cash. He wants to hoard the employees. But like I said, it's only really going to make it illegal for people who can't sell their wages for $15 to sell their wages for less. And that is an atrocity that we must fight against. So thank you for tuning in. We have to empathize with the people. I'm trying more to empathize with the people whose skills aren't worth $15. I think it would be best to find better ways of raising their productivity than making it illegal for them to sell their wage, to sell their skills. Thank you for tuning in this evening to Free Talk SF. I am Steven Zeiler. It was a great pleasure. As always, remember to dance like no one's watching and encrypt. Encrypt like everyone's watching, though I was trying to encrypt earlier with Stefan, and I sent him an encrypted message over PGP, and he sent me back an encrypted message saying, well, I couldn't decrypt it. And I was like, oh man, I can't decrypt this message. Something's wrong with my PGP. I guess I gave him the wrong key or something, which I had actually. So I sent him an email back like, can you send that in plain text? Because I can't decrypt it. And he said, well, his message actually said he can't decrypt my message because of problem with his PGP key. So there is like this giant market opportunity for better interfaces to PGP. Yeah, just throwing that out there so that we can better encrypt everything because everyone's watching. And love your neighbor, empathize with people around. For peace and liberty, thank you.